This tutorial will show you how to perform species distribution modeling with the software Maxent. To begin, visit my website, joshbanta.com, and scroll down to the bottom of the Tutorials tab to the section entitled Species Distribution Modeling. Today's tutorial assumes that you've already done the tutorial where you decide which settings to use when running Maxent. If you have not yet done that tutorial, you can find it here on my website. Today we'll start by referring back to the species distribution modeling flowchart. There are two ways to run Maxent. One way is to filter occurrence points so that no 2 points are near each other, and the other is to filter occurrence points and use a bias file that accounts for the spatial bias of the occurrence points. I will be showing you today how to run Maxent with a bias file, which is option 2. It's easy to take the information in today's tutorial and adapt it to running Maxent without a bias file. Simply do not include the bias file in the Maxent settings, if that is the way that you want to do it instead. Go back to my website and scroll down to the section How to Perform Species Distribution Modeling, and click on the files needed for the tutorial. Click on the triangle within the download box in the upper right-hand corner and select Direct Download. When finished, click File Explorer. Navigate to your Downloads folder and find the zip file that we just downloaded. Double-click on it to see inside of the zip file. Take the Maxent folder within the zip file and drag it to your desktop. Then verify that the Maxent file has been uncompressed and placed on your desktop by navigating to your desktop and looking to see if it's there. Now return to my website. Notice that this tutorial requires the software Maxent. You can download it at the link that I provide. Go down within the Maxent website, click on I prefer to download without providing this information, and then click the button for Download Maxent. Once the Maxent software has been downloaded, click on File Explorer, navigate to your Downloads folder, and find the zip file that we just downloaded. It turns out it has the same name as the files needed for this tutorial, and so Windows has added a 1 in parentheses. That is the file that we need. Double-click on it to look inside the zip directory. Next, click Control-N to open up another copy of File Explorer and navigate to your desktop and into the Maxent folder. Take the file maxent.jar out of the zip file and drag it over into the Maxent directory on your desktop. Then close the zip file. We are now going to open Maxent. Be sure that the copy of maxent.jar that you're opening is the copy that's within the Maxent folder on your desktop and not the copy within the zip file in your download directory. Double-click to open. We need to change a bunch of Maxent settings before we can start. First, uncheck the button at the bottom left-hand corner of your screen that says Auto Features. Next, on the bottom right corner of your screen, check the box for Create Response Curves and check the box for Do Jackknife to measure variable importance. Leave the box for Make Pictures of Predictions checked. Set the output format to CLOG-log and set the output file type to .asc. Those are the defaults, so keep them as they are. We need to decide which feature types we will allow Maxent to use. To do that, we'll go back to File Explorer and we'll open up a file called enmevalresults.csv. This is the results from the previous tutorial about how to decide which Maxent settings to use. When you're using your own data, do not use the enmevalresults.csv file provided to you with this tutorial. Instead, use the enmevalresults.csv file that you generated from running the enevaluate function in the previous tutorial on your own data. Double-click the enevalresults file to open it in Excel. We need to look for the model settings that have a delta AICC equal to 0. In this case, it's the model settings shown here. L equals linear, Q equals quadratic, H equals hinge, P equals product, and T equals threshold. So what this means is that we need to use the Maxent settings for linear and quadratic features only, but not any of the other features. Again, with your own real data, you won't be looking at this file, you'll be looking at the eneval results file that you generated based on your own data. And with your own data, it's likely that the settings will be different and that you won't just be using linear and quadratic features, that you'll be using some other features. We will also be using a regularization multiplier of 0.5. Again, with your own data, understand that the regularization multiplier that you select will very likely be different. Click on the coffee mug at the bottom of your screen to pull up Maxent again. Uncheck hinge features, uncheck product features so that only linear and quadratic features are selected. If it's your own data and the enevaluate results indicated something different, you would have different boxes checked here. Next, set your output directory where the results will go. Click on Browse. Navigate to your desktop. And navigate to the Maxent folder on your desktops. Double-click on the picture of the folder itself and not on the word Maxent. Now, click the icon that says Create New Folder underneath it when you hover over it, as indicated on your screen. Change the name of this new folder to Results. Double-click on, no, don't double-click. Your screen should look like mine here, where the folder name indicated is Results. Click on Open. Next, we need to change some more Maxent settings by clicking on the bar that says Settings at the bottom. Under the Basic tab, check the box that says Random Seed. Under the Advanced tab, check the box that says Write Plot Data. Under the Experimental tab, check the box that says Write Background Predictions. Be sure that all the other boxes are checked under the Basic tab as you see here, under the Advanced tab as you see here, and under the Experimental tab as you see here. Return to the Basic tab. We now need to decide on the replicated run type and the number of replicates. We will refer back to the species distribution modeling flowchart from my website. If there are fewer than 50 occurrence points, we run Maxent with one way. If there are 50 or more occurrence points, we run Maxent another way. Our occurrence points are in the file occ.csv. Be sure that your occurrence points are set up exactly the same as in this file, with species in the first column, longitude in the second column, latitude in the third column, and the names of the columns the same as here, all in lowercase. For the species name, pick any name for your species that you like. Just make the name short and don't put any spaces in it. And you'll take, this is only to help you remember what the name of the species is for when you ran this analysis. You'll take whatever name you choose and you'll populate it throughout the spreadsheet, all the way down to your last record of the occurrence point. As you can see, we have more than 50 occurrence points. Therefore, we are going to run Maxent using cross-validation with 10 model folds. I'll click on the picture of the coffee mug icon at the bottom. to open up Maxent again. I'll click on the picture of the coffee mug and select the settings window to open up the settings window again. I will keep the replicated run type as cross-validate, and I'll set the number of replicates to 10, corresponding to 10 model folds. This tutorial builds on the previous one that you did where you chose the Maxent model settings. In that previous tutorial, I told you that we didn't have enough places on the landscape to use 10,000 background points. For the purposes of this tutorial, we will use 5,000 background points. However, in most cases, you should use 10,000 background points. Refer to the earlier tutorial on how to choose the right Maxent settings to decide whether to use 10,000 background points or some smaller number. For the purposes of this tutorial, use 5,000. Usually with your own data, I will caution you, you are going to want to use 10,000 background points. But again, see the previous tutorial to decide how many background points is appropriate for you. Change the regularization multiplier to what was indicated in the enm eval results.csv file. Again, don't use the enm eval results.csv file of the tutorial data if you're using your own real results. For your own real results, use the enm eval results.csv file that was generated on your own real data. In our case, we need to use for this tutorial, we need to use a regularization multiplier of 0.5. So I will change the regularization multiplier here under the Basic tab to 0.5. Next, under the Advanced tab, I need to add in the bias file. Click on the Browse button where you see Bias File at the bottom of the Options window. Navigate to the Maxent folder on your desktop and choose biasfile.asc. That's our bias file, and click Open. We now have set all of the settings for Maxent, and we can close the Maxent settings window. Now we will tell Maxent where our occurrence points are. In the upper left-hand corner, click Browse. Click occ.csv, which contains our occurrence points. Do not use occ.csv from the tutorial if you're doing this on your own data. You will want to use your own actual species occurrence points file instead. I will click on Open to open up occ.csv. We know that it imported properly because we see the name of the species showing up here next to a checkbox. Next, we need to put our environmental layers into their own subfolder. Go back to the File Explorer window and navigate to the Maxent folder on your desktop. Click the button New Folder and rename this folder whatever you like. In my case, I'm calling it Layers. We're going to put all of our environmental layers into the Layers folder. Our environmental layers are Bio 1, Bio 5, Bio 6, Bio 7, Bio 8, Bio 12, Bio 16, Bio 17, BioCateg 1, and BioCateg 2. You can either drag those files one at a time into your Layers folder, or as a shortcut, highlight the first of the files that you want to drag, go to the bottom, hit Shift, and then highlight the last of the files that you want to drag. By clicking on the picture of one of the icons, you can then drag all of those files together in batch into your Layers subfolder. If you have trouble with that method, simply drag the files one at a time into the Layers folder. Please note that I did not drag the file biasfile.asc into the Layers subfolder because biasfile.asc is not an environmental layer. Double-click on the Layers folder and verify that you have only the files that you see here within your Layers subfolder and that it's within the Maxent folder on your desktop. These environmental layers, Bio 1 through Bio 17, are taken from a website where you can download that sort of environmental data called WorldClimb. And if you visit the website worldclimb.org/bioclimb, you can see translations of what the names of these environmental layers actually mean. Please note that I made up the environmental layers BioCateg1 and BioCateg2, so you will not find them on the WorldClimb website. Now we are ready to tell Maxent where our environmental layers are. Click on Browse in the upper right-hand corner. Navigate to the Maxent folder on your desktop and then select the Layers folder so that it's selected as you see here on my screen. Click Open. Maxent has imported all of your environmental layers. We need to change any environmental layers that we have as categorical if they're categorical layers. In the case of the sample data, BioCateg1 and BioCateg2 are two categorical environmental layers. For more information on categorical environmental layers, see the previous tutorial on choosing the right Maxent settings. If you have categorical variables in your own data, you're going to need to change them, just as I am doing here. So we will change BioCateg1 and BioCateg2 to categorical by clicking on the little arrows and then selecting categorical from those drop-down menus. We are now ready to run Maxent. Do so by clicking the Run bar in the bottom left corner. Running Maxent can take quite a while. Even with the tutorial data here, which is a smaller data set, it takes about 3 to 5 minutes to run. Keep an eye on your screen. When the progress bar stops running over and over again and the progress window is gone, it means that Maxent has finished running. Once Maxent is finished, we can go look at the results. Navigate back to the Maxent folder on your desktop and double-click on the results folder. The file with your results in it will be the name of your species .html. For the purposes of this tutorial, our species is Bradypus. So the file that we're going to double-click on is bradypus.html. In the case of your own data, the name of this file will be whatever your species is. As a caution, do not open the files that have your species name, underscore, and a number .html. Only open the one without an underscore and a number, as you see at the top here. Double-click on it, and we can see many different results. Describing what these results mean is beyond the scope of this tutorial, but briefly I will give you some of the main features. Notice that we have the test AUC indicated here. Notice that we have our species distribution model here on the left. On the right, this is not the species distribution model. Disregard the image on the right. With the image on the left, you can click on it to just see the image by itself. You can click the magnifying lens to zoom in, and you can right-click on the image and save the image out as a picture. If you want your Maxent results as a .asc raster file that you can import into software like QGIS, you would come to your Maxent folder on your desktop, click on the results subfolder, and you would click on the file bradypusaverage.asc. That's your Maxent results written out as a raster that you can import into whatever GIS software that you like. Back to showing you the results. The next thing that I want to highlight for you is this section here called Jackknife of Test Gain for Bradypus. Describing in depth how to interpret these results is outside of the domain of this tutorial, but I'll briefly give you the main features. Do not look at the jackknife of AUC. Do not look at the jackknife of regularized training gain. Only look at the jackknife of test gain. The red bar shows you the test gain of the full model that contains all of the environmental variables. The dark blue bars show you the test gain of the environmental variable of the models that were fit using only the one environmental variable indicated in that row. The light blue bars show you the test gain of the model when the variable indicated on that row was left out of the model and everything else was included. Looking at the jackknife of test gain for the different environmental variables, or environmental layers in other words, can show you how important the different environmental layers are to the species distribution model. Notice we have this section here called response curves. It's likely that the most important response curves that you will need to see are the second set of response curves down here, not the first set up here. These response curves show you how habitat suitability is influenced by the environmental variable of interest. So for instance, if we click on this response curve here under Bio 1, the y-axis here is habitat suitability. The x-axis is Bio 1, which is that bioclimatic variable from worldclim.org. And in this case, it's average annual temperature times 10. The point is that as average annual temperature increases, the habitat suitability for Bradipus also increases up to at least a certain point. For categorical variables, instead of a response curve, we see bar graphs. And what you want to look at are the dark red. And we see that the habitat suitability is greatest for Bradipus in category type 1, as opposed to category type -1 or category type 3. For your own data, be sure to know what these different category types of your categorical variable mean. So 1 could be a particular soil type, -1 could be a different soil type, and 3 could be yet another soil type that are arbitrarily called type 1, type -1, and type 3, for instance. So that's how you interpret your results. Next, I want to show you where you can find this response curve data within your results. You find that within the Maxent folder on your desktop, within the results subfolder, within the plots subfolder. And I have another tutorial which describes how you can take this response curve data out of here and plot it in whatever graphical software that you like. But going into how you would plot this response curve data goes beyond the scope of this tutorial. Another thing I want to draw your attention to is a file in the results subfolder of the Maxent folder on your desktop that's called maxentresults.csv. This file contains all of the information about the summary statistics that you could need. Understanding what these summary statistics mean is outside the scope of this tutorial, but understand that this is where you can find them. And you are going to want to look at the results in the row called average. So if we wanted to see the exact test gain of the full model, we would look in this row labeled average, and we would see that it's 0.8262. We would see that the test AUC is 0.826, and so on and so forth. If we wanted to see the test gain of the model that was built using only the variable Bio5, again, we would look at this row for the average, and we would see that that test gain is 0.1029. Point is, you can find all of that information in this file, maxentresults.csv. Next, I want to show you how to run Maxent when you have fewer than 50 occurrence points. Before we get started, return to the Maxent folder on your desktop. Not the results subfolder. Make sure that you're in the Maxent folder itself. Click on New Folder, and we'll add a new folder called Results 2. Next, reopen Maxent, and we're going to change our output directory in the bottom right corner from Results to Results 2. And we're going to do that by navigating to the Maxent folder on our desktop and selecting Results 2 as the output. This is so that we won't override the results that we have from the other analysis with the new results. This way we'll put the results into their own new folder. Now, instead of using OCC.CSV, we're going to use this other set of occurrence points called OCC small.CSV. We're going to pretend that our data set is smaller. So come here to the upper left corner of your Maxent screen and click Browse. Change to OCC small.CSV within the Maxent folder on your desktop and click on Open. Everything will look the same as before, except that now the file that's selected will be called OCC small.CSV. Oops, and make sure that you have Bradipus checked. Let's go and look at OCC small.CSV and see how many occurrence points we have. Click on File Explorer and double-click on OCC small.CSV to open it. We have only 20 occurrence points. If you go back to the niche modeling flowchart, when we have fewer than 50 occurrence points, we have to use something called the leave one out method. I'm going to click on Maxent to open it again. And I'm going to click on Settings. Click on the Basic tab. Here, we're going to change the number of replicates to equal the number of data points in our sample. I'll come back to the File Explorer window and reopen that file again. We have 20 occurrence records. I know that you're seeing that it looks like 21, but notice that the first one is not an occurrence record. Those are just column headers. So we actually have 20 occurrence records. So for this method, we will set the number of replicates to equal the number of occurrence records, which is 20. And we will still keep the replicated run type as cross-validate. Now we have all the settings we need. We can close it. And we can click the bar at the bottom left-hand corner that says Run. Do note that it will take Maxent longer to run using the leave one out method. Go ahead and click the button Run. Look for the progress window to close when it's done. When finished, navigate to the Maxent folder on your desktop within File Explorer. Click on the folder Results 2. Open the file bradipus.html as before. Now we'll see that the AUC is 0.874. And we can scroll down and see the Maxent model and the response curves, the Jackknife of test gain. And if we look within File Explorer, we also have that file, maxentresults.csv. And in plots, although I'm not going to go into it here, we also have the response curve data that you could plot in your own graphical software. And that's how you would run Maxent if you had fewer than 50 occurrence points. that concludes this tutorial on running Maxent.